Hello everyone, in this episode we are back in Lebanon. I've just been running 2 back-to-back photography workshops and tours around the country, and I've been feeling a little bit rough the last couple of days. I meant to do some other videos. However, I've got a bit of a treat for you today because I've been given permission to photograph a disused home in the north of Lebanon. The owner's given me the caretaker's details, he's given me the key, and behind me I've finally got access to be able to photograph this small house. It's probably more beautiful outside than in, but there's definitely some details to be had. The bedroom, the little living quarters, the saloon, and I'm going to walk you around. We're going to photograph it together in this episode. Let's do it.
For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is James Kerwin, and this is me. I'm an architecture and interior photographer from the UK that is now based in Istanbul. I love shooting heritage, abandoned places, relics, ruins, hidden gems and ghost towns, as well as off the beaten path locations all around the world. You can catch my content weekly, well, when life doesn't take over. So why don't you join me for the ride by subscribing, and you can also check out my website in the description below.
Here we are inside the actual place. It's pretty hot now. I'm sweating. It's 30 degrees today, and I did, like I said, have a bit of food poisoning yesterday. In fact, a few of the group did actually, which is not ideal. Yeah, it's a small, quirky little house. There is this central salon room, which I think could make for an interesting shot. There's some weird things scattered about, which probably are not so interesting. But I am going to grab a couple of shots, one here of this main room here behind me, and then another one inside the bedroom here to my left, which I've just closed off. So it's a 3-bedroom property that was left behind a long time ago. The family now currently lives in Australia, and there is a caretaker looking after the house. And it's got some interesting pieces left behind. Although not as photogenic as I originally thought on the outside. You saw that in the intro. The outside looking in does look amazing. I'm going to grab the shots and I'm going to talk you through them, but I have only got one camera with me on this trip, this main R5. So it means that I'm going to talk you through the images as we've taken them. So I might do it a little bit differently. And I have had a little problem. My 17mm tilt shift is back to England now for repair. It's gone back with a workshop guest because I realised it was broken, soft on one side and sharp on the other. It did that about 4 years ago. So it's gone back to England to be repaired, and it'll come back in June when my mum comes to Istanbul. She doesn't know that yet, but it will. Anyway, so we're going to crack on, photograph this place. I've got about 2 hours, if that, of daylight left, but the light is really nice right at this moment. The views from this place are fantastic, so I want to grab some shots while I can. As usual in these places, the chandelier is not central, which is always quite annoying. But anyway, we're going to grab some shots and yeah, see how we get on. So the first thing I notice is that I've got to shoot this off center. And that means originally I was thinking about doing a pano as usual, like top, middle and bottom like this, but you can see what's happening. the chandelier is not in the middle of the room, which is really annoying because that means that everything else is then off center. I can either shoot it like this, but then when I do that, when I go down, the flooring is off. But the rest of it is kind of okay. The ceiling's a little bit off as well. You can see here, top sort of left. But I'm not sure about this. The other option is to pull it more central, forget about the chandelier being off, and just go for it like this. And then when I do my pano, it's going to look something like this, which is, of course, straight and sort of clean. But the problem there is then look how far off the chandelier is. I think that's kind of annoying. But I'm going to do both versions and see from there. Portrait, and I might just do a landscape orientation so I can crop it in if I need to. I'm also a little bit worried that I've left a little bit too much flooring, so I might just step forward a little bit here as well, like this, to try and give myself a little bit more wiggle room. I like the shadow from the chairs coming in here, bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to try and emphasize that. I could also lower my camera position so that that actually looks a little bit more, the perspective looks a little bit more natural, which is kind of there, you see. So I could also photograph it just like this, or just pull my camera position over and then almost trick the camera into thinking that it's in the middle like so. And if I shot it like this, you probably wouldn't really notice the fact that it is a little bit off. It's kind of like fooling the camera's position and the viewer's eye to make them think that everything is aligned correctly. So I've decided now to step forwards, and I'm now directly underneath the chandelier basically. I'll show you my position briefly in my phone. So this is my kind of position where I basically am. I feel like stepping forwards like this, I eliminate that annoying chandelier like this, and I can get more of an interesting image like so. Basically, I've done it so that I've just got more of the view and I've focused in on the image more. I've bracketed it like extreme just to make sure that I've got it, and I've made sure that I've done a portrait and landscape orientation. I think portrait's the one, but I just wanted to check that everything is kind of like as it should be. I just think eliminating the chandelier, getting real detail, filling the frame is the way to go.
Okay, so here's the first result, and I like it. It's probably my favourite actually. I like the shadows, bottom left and bottom right, drawing you through to the open window at the back. I then proceeded though to close the door and actually capture another shot with the camera's position being a little lower, that enabled me to get something a little bit different as the light faded somewhat further as well. This is the result. Which one do you prefer?
So I photographed a couple of angles. It's pretty difficult in here. Like I said, in the looking at the screen live, it doesn't line up very well. It's a bit awkward. There's things in the way. I didn't know quite what I was walking into. I actually assumed, probably wrongly of me, that there was some kind of ceiling in here as well, which would have made it a bit more interesting. Photographing places like this where you don't know what you're walking into for the first time is always challenging and tricky. I had no idea what it looked like. I've been outside before. I came here a couple of weeks ago now and saw the exterior, and I knew that it had potential to be decent, and there was stuff. I knew there was furniture left behind, but that's kind of all I knew about the place, and that wasn't enough to go on. I could see through a gap in the door that there was some furniture, and now I've seen that it's over there in the corner. It's not quite as photogenic as I originally assumed. So yeah, you never know. The lesson here is you never really know what you're walking into. You've got to be prepared for kind of every situation, and in this case, I probably wasn't.
Okay, just before moving on from this scene, I actually pushed my camera's position out left to make a two-point perspective that looks like this, and I preferred it. I then moved on to that pesky bedroom.
The bedroom's really dark, so I've not been able to film in there so easily, not been able to show you so much of the actual taking the shots, and I'm not great at furniture. Sometimes I feel like the furniture stretches at the edge of the screen, and it doesn't look quite right in frame. So yeah, tell me what you think. Here's the images of the bedroom. Okay, so that pretty much wraps us up here. But just as I was leaving, I captured another shot actually of the entrance scene just here. I've also got a problem with my 24mm tilt shift as well, where I shift it, it seems to be getting stuck. Do you remember that time in Romania where it was getting wet? It seems to have never recovered from that. So it seems that both need a little bit of maintenance. I've now taken roughly 2 hours to photograph this place, and it's been for probably just the 2 shots that you've seen. Okay, so that's basically me for today. Nice simple video here in Lebanon. I've not done many, and I'm going home on Saturday. I might do one more from in Tripoli with my friend that I'm meeting tomorrow, but I'm still feeling a bit under the weather. I've got a camera club talk tonight, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. So it might be one of one, which, yeah, I thought I'd bring you along for the ride. Hope you've enjoyed it. Leave any comments if you've got below. I'll see you all very soon. Until the next time, take care, guys.